Recording in progress.
All right, I'm going to call the Thursday, November 21st business meeting of Narberth Borough Council to order. With the pledge, pledge.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Borough Council met in executive session on the 11th.
roll call.
Roll call, yeah, go ahead.
Council President Fred Bush.
Here, obviously.
Council Vice President Cindy Rickards, absent. Councilmember Ira Winston.
Here.
Councilmember Jean Burok.
Here.
Councilmember Jim Spear.
Here.
Councilmember Michael Gaudini.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Salmonson.
Here.
Mayor Andrea Deutsch.
Here.
Okay. Council met in executive session on the 11th to discuss the borough manager hiring process. And I'm pleased to say we'll be voting tonight to approve the contract for our new borough manager, Maggie Dobbs. I think a lot of residents will have met Maggie while she was working with the borough through the Montgomery County Planning Commission. While she was our consultant, she also worked on the comprehensive plan and met with a number of citizen groups and did a lot of outreach during that process. So she's deeply familiar with Narberth issues as a result of the comprehensive planning process. And after Montgomery County, she's moved on to municipal management in Westtown and New Hanover Township. And we will be excited to introduce her to the community next month. Okay, that's it for my comments. Mayor Deutsch?
The only reminder, and I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm reminding people that when you park your cars in the borough, please lock them and don't leave any valuables in sight, and please take your keys with you. We've had a couple incidents of people rifling through cars, unlocked cars. Please remember to take your keys with you. I don't care if you think you've found the perfect hiding space. I assure you, you have not. So please, and by all means, I can't believe I have to say this, but please don't leave your cars running and leave the doors unlocked and run in for errands, as I saw someone do the other day. Not a good move. Let's be smart. I know it feels like Mayberry. We are not Mayberry. Let's just not make ourselves an easy target.
So hypothetically, if we need to go pick up dog food,
That's right.
we don't leave the car running while we
Please
go in to pick
do
it
not
up.
leave your
Okay.
car running unattended with the doors unlocked.
Okay.
Not a wise decision.
All right.
And it's not going to take you that much time to unlock and get in the car. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Deutsch. Mr. West.
I am just excited about tonight's meeting, that we have the 2025 budget in front of council for consideration. I think this might be a record for this borough to actually consider adopting a borough in November. So hats off to everyone involved, staff, council, mayor, appreciate your efforts. There is one thing that I would like to bring to council and the mayor's attention this evening. As of this morning, I was notified about a short-term disability funding issue that I would like to include in the budget. So it's currently not included in this draft budget that was circulated to council. This is related to our close to being adopted police negotiations, where the borough will be providing short-term disability coverage for our sworn officers. I was informed this morning by our insurance broker that the quote that I received, unbeknownst to me, was for all borough employees. And given that we would only have 5 sworn officers, it would bump us into a different insurance carrier that specializes in employees with 10 or fewer employees. So my recommendation to council would be for us to consider adding short-term disability as a borough an additional borough benefit for all employees. I budgeted for $3,000 worth in this current budget. The total cost annually would be about $10,000 for all employees. And so that would be a $7,000 difference in the budget that is proposed. My recommendation is that I believe there is, we've got some wiggle room in the part-time traffic control, parking controller. We've had a tough time finding anyone for that, so I'm pretty confident that we could back that money out of that line item that's a part of the salary, and then start that person halfway through the year if we find that person to cover that. So I wanted to bring that before council. I'm not asking for your decision now, but I will be asking for that during the budget motion later tonight.
So if council approves, we would amend the budget when that motion came up to include that item.
At a zero net change, revenue expenses.
It would be a new benefit for, I mean, we have committed to providing it for the police. That would cost about $3,000. Well, we're not sure, because it would probably cost more than that if we have to get it.
If we would have to go through
the emergency
different-
care or whatever.
Right.
So it would probably cost a bit more. It's $10,000 for everybody. So that's the question we'll be debating, is whether to include it for everybody or just for the police.
I think it's a pretty minimal investment in a pretty decent benefit. The benefit is for a maximum of 180 days, 60% of an employee's salary, for up to $1,000 a week, with a 14-day waiting period. And so what that does, when an employee, hopefully fortunately never, goes on short-term disability, their salary would then be paid from the insurance and off of our payroll. So there's the potential benefit for the borough.
Well, we did have a public works crew member who was off for an extended period, right? Would this have triggered for that?
Yes, it
crew
would have.
member? Yeah, so.
Yes, it would have.
And I assume this is not due to a work-related disability, which would be covered by workers' comp?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Illness or accident.
Outside
Yes.
of work.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Okay, and then our other, I forget what the other budget changes are since the last presentation. Have there been any other significant changes?
No.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to public, do you have any further report?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's move on to public comment. So as a reminder, public comment is 3 minutes. If you'd like to make a comment, begin by giving your name and the street you live on, and then you may begin your comment, and then once you've finished your comment, council members may or may not respond. We'll start in the room. So you wish to make a public comment? Okay.
My name's Bob Brophy. I live on Narberth Place, which is the old Narberth Methodist Church at the corner of Price and Essex. I'm here because I can't get a parking permit. I live on Essex Avenue, although my address says I'm on Price, because they redeveloped the church from a church into 6 condominiums, 4 of which are on Price, 2 of which are in the back of the building, and our only street access is Essex Avenue. And I've talked to numerous people, we've sent pictures and emails, and I finally talked to Paul Frosch, and he told me to come here today. I don't know what else I have to do. My next door neighbor is 311 North. I have 312 and 314 Essex across the street. If I had a real address, I would be 313. But I don't, because we have a community mailbox on Price. And I actually live on Essex, and they won't grant us a parking permit because of the mailing box that they decided when they redeveloped.
All right, I'm just looking to see, because typically the reason that one side of the street would have permits available and the other side doesn't is because there's no parking.
No, that's Price.
No parking on one side of the street.
Yes, we have no parking on our side.
So no parking on North Narberth, or sorry,
It's
on
North Essex.
North Essex, I'm sorry.
We have no parking on
North
one side of the
Essex.
street, and the other side of the street is 2-hour parking.
Do you have parking on Price on both sides, do you know?
On Price, there is parking on one side and 2-hour on the other. That's a whole other issue, which is crazy. You can't really treat your residents different depending on where they live, on what side of the street. But that's not my issue. My issue is I live actually on Essex, and I can't seem to get that through to anybody. I talked to Paul Frosch. he agrees with me, and that's why he said he can't do anything about it though. And I'm like, I don't get it.
Are you in the single stone church?
No,
So
it's
you're
the
in
larger one,
The condos?
the condos. And two of the condos, our only street access is Essex Avenue. We do not have any access. I have lived here for over 3 years. Never have I ever parked up in place. That's not where I live. And I can't get anybody to do anything.
Yeah, so I think the way that our legislation was written, it's that if you live on a street with no parking, even if the other side has 2-hour parking, you don't get a parking permit. And I don't know if the practice was to actually just give people in that situation parking permits
Well,
anyway.
when I first moved here, we had a parking permit. But that was before this whole,
That was on Price Avenue, it was same spot.
same spot.
Same spot. Okay.
And it's only since they put this through, and the only parking on the street is 2 hours.
And do you know if your neighbor also had a permit, the other
The
house
other
on Essex?
upstairs, I don't know.
Okay.
It's a similar issue that we've had, because the one side of Price, the south side of Price is not 2 hours.
Right.
North side is.
Yeah, so the south side of Price is also where you.
But I'm not on Price.
Yeah, no, we're just looking to see,
But
yeah.
the property is on Price, right?
When it was a church, yes, it was on Price.
There's
But
no-
they never did anything when they redeveloped this, because now
Okay.
it's split.
Yeah, and so the other issue is that there's no parking on the North Essex Avenue side,
No,
and so you've got a double whammy.
I know. There's only 2-hour parking.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, have we had anybody else who's on the same street where like there's no parking on one side and, yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
okay.
We actually did have someone further down North Essex as well, recently.
So I think we would want to consider whether if you have a street where there's no parking on one side and 2-hour on the other, the street with no parking should be able to get permits. So it sounds like that may have been the policy in the past unofficially, and when we codified
It
it, we
didn't seem to
really,
create a problem then.
yeah.
Well, that's the other issue. I don't know, I understand why there's 2 hours. I don't only during the day, and there's parking everywhere. Because everybody's at work. It
If you-
doesn't make any sense.
If you would like to
Raise a
petition
good
your
point.
neighbors to remove that parking, you can do so. However, we have a procedure in place for removing 2-hour parking. It involves getting a majority, or 60% of the
60%.
homeowners on that side to request it be removed. So if you'd like to go about that, you could, but it might be easier for us to solve this a different way.
I'd be happy if just somebody issued me a parking permit.
We
Which
get
is
that.
really the easy
All right.
way.
Thank you. I think,
Yeah, it's the best way to get in contact with you.
I can give them my email.
I think
or-
I have, you've emailed me in the past, right, Mr. Brophy?
Could you write down your
I think my wife might, but
Okay.
I've emailed the clerk. I have her name.
Why don't you go ahead and
Yeah.
give Richard your email address? I think,
I'll follow up with you.
yeah. Does anybody on council feel we need to? We probably should like officially codify this in public health and safety, like, if we're gonna allow more than one here.
If I may, what if you gave the manager discretion to, in unique circumstances, to analyze the situation? This sounds like a unique situation.
It is, it's a crazy,
Yeah.
you wouldn't believe the problems I have getting things delivered. Everything I have has apartment 3 on Essex, because if you go to 200 Price,
Okay.
you'll never find apartment 3.
So would you want your permit for Price or on Essex?
Essex, where I live.
We have done that.
Okay,
Okay.
I think we can grant it in this case,
Yes.
and,
I'll
all right,
coordinate with you.
okay.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else online who wishes to make a public comment, please?
Yes.
So, please.
I would like to make a comment.
All right, go ahead.
Carol Marie Scanlon, Sabine Avenue. I'd like to know, are there any updates on the RFP, RFQ, appraisal, assessment, development, subdivision plans for 201 Sabine?
Do you have anything else you want to say, or?
Yes, I'd like to know what the timeline is for the same appraisal assessments of division RFP, RFQ plans for Sabine. And then I'd also like to know, so October 17th, Fred, you said that the borough is not going to be using the RDA, the Montgomery County RDA, for the development of Sabine. Does this coincide with bringing Ms. Dobbs on as manager? And does the appointment of a new borough manager who is a former member of the Montgomery County Planning Commission, does this change the trajectory for the development of Sabine? And then my final question is, who do we direct our right to know request to?
Well, let's do the RTKs first. That's somebody. That's
It's
you.
still
Matt?
the same RTK.
Okay, it's just the borough RTK address. So RTK at Narberth.
Yep, Alan is still.
Well, right now it's Alan.
And he's still.
Alan is still on the payroll. He is a temporary employee, so he will still be managing that.
Okay.
As for your other questions, the appointment of Maggie Dobbs has no connection to 201 Sabine. It's unrelated. And we don't have any other updates, nor do we have a timeline at this time. We've received no new information. So nothing more to share.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep. Is there anybody else online who wishes to make a public comment? Okay. Public comment is now closed. All right, let's move to our presentation item.
Right, and I think we have a PowerPoint.
Exciting.
I know.
How do we address you? Is it like Mr. Perthonatier?
Honorable, that's fine.
Honorable. We're all honorable.
Mr. President, I'm just joking. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Noah Marlier. Is this a good spot to be in with the owl and the, okay. And I am your Montgomery County Perthonatier, and I just want to thank you, Mayor and President Bush, and everyone on council for having me. It's really an honor to be here this evening. So the Perthonatiary's office, you see some of my wonderful employees up on this first screen, is where you file legal papers, and I know some of you are attorneys and know this, but it's where you file civil legal papers with the county. We're not talking about criminal matters, that's a different county department. We're talking about the civil matters. And I'm here specifically tonight to talk to you about protection from abuse, or PFAs, in a specific department in some of our initiatives. If you can go to the next slide, please. So, again, our office is where you file civil legal matters. We have over 150 different kinds of filings. There's a lot of training that my clerks go through. We have 27 employees that I oversee, 23 of which are in Norristown, at the Norristown office, just across from the courthouse on the first floor of 1 Montgomery, and 4 of which are at our Willow Grove Annex, where most of our operations, most of the filings can be done there as well. And that's to have offices on kind of somewhat 2 different sides of the county. But my clerks go through a lot of training. It takes about 6 months to a year to learn all the different kinds of filings. I can tell you as an attorney myself, most of us attorneys don't know how to file legal paper. We have paralegals that do it. My clerks are just so smart and so with it and so caring, and they really do work very hard for the county. Specifically, we have 4 PFA analysts and a supervisor. Again, PFA is a protection from abuse. And PFA is what it's called here in Pennsylvania. You might know it as a restraining order. And most people do. That's because in the movies and in TV, they're called restraining orders, because in California, they're called restraining orders, and that's where all the movies are made, right? So here and in a couple other states, they're called PFAs. So we get nearly 30 to 50 PFA petitioners a week. 30 to 50 county residents coming in to obtain protection from the courts because they're surviving domestic violence. Oftentimes, the people that come in have their children with them. Sometimes they have fresh bruises on their face or on their arms from abuse that morning or the evening before. And abuse doesn't discriminate. We all know that, right? There is abuse in same-sex relationships. There is abuse of women against men. There's abuse of the elderly. There's abuse of children. The vast majority of what we see is still males abusing women in a relationship. And again, a lot of these women come in with their children. And we've tried to create a really welcoming environment. We've changed things around a lot. My outreach director, Ann Cornell, is here with me. And she did a book drive last year that was just incredible. We got a lot of books. So we have books for kids, and sometimes they walk away with them, and that's just fine. We've got a lot. We have a nice rug in the PFA waiting room now. It's really a much more welcoming environment than it was just a year and a half ago. I'm really, really proud of that. But what I'm here for tonight are two specific initiatives that I really want you to hear about. I want your police chief to be reminded about. We worked with Kevin Steele, the chief law enforcement officer of the county, on this and presented to the police chiefs. But just as a reminder about one of the initiatives specifically, and to let you all know about both of the initiatives so you can spread the word to all your residents that there is help if you're surviving domestic violence. You can go to the next screen, please. So the first initiative, I'm so proud of this, is called our Hope Card program. So this program came about because I was having coffee and conversation with one of your colleagues' counterparts in Plymouth Township. Karen Bramblett, she happened to be the prothonotary for the Superior Court of Pennsylvania back in the day, so she knows what a prothonotary is and she knows how to spell it, which is a great head start. She brought up this idea. It was being at the time done in a couple states out in the West. Washington State has now passed a law that this has to be done, but nowhere on the East Coast is this being done, nowhere else in Pennsylvania is this being done. Here's what it is. When you get a final PFA, first you get a temporary PFA, okay? If the judge has a little hearing, usually the defendant's not even there. It's the day that usually the woman walks in and reports to the courts the abuse, goes on record with testimony, and is granted a temporary PFA. Within 10 days or so, you have to have a final hearing where the defendant can come and put up testimony of his own. If that final PFA is granted, you get an order from my office. This is by law, I have to send out the final PFA. And it's this big, it can be many pages long, and it can be cumbersome. I was a district attorney here in Montgomery County. Your amazing solicitor was a district attorney here in Montgomery County. He and I were DAs together. I'll take the $20 later, John. A great guy and a great attorney, and he and I were DAs together, and he'll probably state this as well. When you're dealing with domestic violence charge, the person who has the PFA, they don't keep the PFA on their person. They don't usually even keep it in their car. They keep it at home, they keep it in a glove box, maybe, or at home on the living room table, the kitchen table, but they don't have it on them. And this is an important document that keeps them safe, protects them from their abuser. So what we've done is we've reduced some of the information, not all, but just some of the pertinent information from that final PFA down to what we're calling a Hope Card, a credit card sized document that I'm passing around that we laminate and we send out with every final PFA. And it has the plaintiff's name, the defendant's name, has what's called the PFAD number, that's the state identification number, and that's really important because some of your officers, they may be approached by a woman walking through Narberth, my abuser's stalking me, he's following me. The first thing they're going to need is the PFAD number to look up that information. And so I think this cuts some corners for the law enforcement as well, and I think that's really important. Every second, as we know, counts in these kinds of situations. So it has some of that really important information on the one side of the card. And on the other side of the card are some additional resources. Laurel House, the Women's Center, Victim Services Center of Montgomery County. Because we want to arm these survivors with every single resource they could possibly need to keep themselves safe, right? And I think this Hope Card brings an added layer of protection, right? Even if they never have to use it, they know they have it. And that's a really important thing for all survivors. So that's our Hope Card program. Very, very proud of it. Like I said, first of its kind here in Pennsylvania. You can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So this one's going to sound, this initiative, you're going to go, how is it possible that this was not done before? But we are only the second county in the entire Commonwealth to do this. Here's the process for a PFA. Somebody has to go to Norristown. Now, Narberth isn't too far from Norristown, but it's really burdensome for people from Pottstown, Lower Salford, Douglas Township. It is a trek to get into Norristown, Lower Moreland, right? But to get to Norristown, you have to get to Norristown to get a protection from abuse. You go to court administration, and you fill out a 15-page packet, and it's cumbersome, and it's intimidating. You got to put all this personal information into it. Then you come to my office, and my analysts take that information from the packet, and they upload it into the PFAD system, the state system. And then they go in front of a judge. They have have the hearing. And if it's granted, they come back, well, either way, they come back to my office with the order, and we enter that information. And then they go to the sheriff's office across the street, and the sheriff has to serve that temporary PFA. So it's a real process. We have a cutoff somewhat earlier in the day because the fact of the matter is it's a tedious process that can take all day long. So the key is, as a governing official, how can you help people who need help the most? And I know all of you believe that as council people, right, and as mayor. How do you help people that need help the most? And how do you find those little ways to do it, right? And if we can make this process just a little bit shorter, that's what we wanted to do. So we are the second county in Pennsylvania to have an electronic packet. So that packet I talked about, that 15-page packet where you gotta come to Norristown, and that's the first step, that can be done anywhere where you have an internet connection now. It can be done in the comfort of your home, you can be done at the library or somewhere safe where you have internet access. And that's been shaving off an hour and a half, 2 hours of time that people have to stay in the courthouse. You still gotta go to Norristown for the other parts. But if you can be there just a little bit less, right? And have it be a little bit less of a daunting process, that's a really important thing. And we're finding that people are using this electronic packet, and again, I'm really, really proud of that. So these are two initiatives that we've done, and just two of the initiatives we've done in my office regarding PFAs specifically. And like I said, as governing officials, this is what we're supposed to do, right? And this is what county electeds are supposed to do, is find ways to help people, and I'm trying to do just that. I'll take, again, my name's Noah Marlier, I'm in Montgomery County Pathonetary. I don't have parking permits, I'm sorry. And I'll take any questions you might have.
So the online packet can't be submitted online, it's gotta be physically or downloaded to your phone or however.
Mayor, that's a great question. You do the packet,
Yeah.
it populates straight to court administration.
Okay.
You walk in, it's gonna be there waiting for you. A lot of people are finding it really daunting, and they're like, oh, they just give up. For a couple days it gets saved and it's there, I think. Is it 2 days?
I think it's longer than 2 days.
4 days, 2 or 4
Yeah, I
days, I
think they
forget.
have 3 or 4 days to go into court administration.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's gonna be sitting there for you
Okay,
for a few days.
but you don't have to worry about printing it out and taking it
Correct.
or downloading it to a phone or something like that.
That's right.
Can they start it and then finish later? Like I'm thinking if they're doing it at home and the abuser walks in the door, are they able to save and come back to her? Or they have to
I
start
believe
all
you
over?
can save it. I
Yeah,
thought.
you can't say, it will save into the court administration
That's right, so
system,
whatever
and
you-
still have to file it. You can't
Yeah.
finish it on your computer, you'll have to go to the courthouse.
So we try to address that
Yeah.
problem. I think what we ended up on is you close it down and that gets sent, so at least some of it will be. And we try to address the problem. It's a really good question, Councilman, because abusers are sitting there and
Yeah.
survivors are sitting there, the abuser walks in, close it, and we try to come up with a system where it would clear automatically, but that has to do with your browser history, and that's just something we don't have access to,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Great.
Is there any, have you guys talked to Delco at all? I have a friend who works for a crisis group down there, I think who would be very interested in talking to you guys about training.
I've already gotten requests to discuss this at our, don't get jealous now, but we had a Pathonetaries conference. It's a real hoot, let me tell you. I know, get to hang out at the Fayette Pathonetary. In other counties, it's like the Pathonetary, the clerk of courts, register of wills, all combined. But yeah, we've already gotten requests to bring this up at that conference. I've already shared it with some of my friends throughout the Commonwealth, and I think it's gonna be a program that's spreading. I believe Bucks County after us. I believe Bucks County went with the online packet, but no one else has done the Hope cards yet.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, thank you. Thank you so much, council. Thank you for what you do. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, John. Do you have the Hope card?
Yep, over here.
Yeah.
You need to pass one. Watch out for the cord.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move that Borough Council adopt the consent agenda items A, B, and C.
I'll second.
Any discussion of the consent agenda? All right, we're voting to approve consent agenda items A, B, and C. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. First consideration item, that's the tax stuff. Homestead exclusion.
I I move that Borough Council approve, oh no, sorry, wrong one.
2024-22.
Sorry. Is it not gonna sign this year, this time? All right. I move that Borough Council adopt Resolution 2024-22, establishing a homestead and farmstead exclusion in the amount of $20,500 for eligible properties for fiscal year 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So as a reminder, this is a property tax rebate. The net amount is about $200 for people who own their own property and live in their own property, which is most of the homeowners in the borough. It's the same amount that we gave last year.
It is, and the only difference is how many property owners register. And so the current budget as presented and up for consideration has 950 total participants. As of my latest update from the county, I currently have 931. That just means we'll be putting out less in homestead.
So is this something you have to register for every year, or do you do it once and you're good?
You're once and you're good.
And it's also the same that you use for the school district. So
Yes.
most people already had signed up to get there, because the school district taxes are much higher. So
Yeah.
you know, you're saving a lot more by doing this for the school district. So I think,
Right. That was just what we control. It's $202 and some change.
Okay.
any further comment? All right, we are voting for tax relief. Homestead and farmstead exclusion of $20,500 for eligible properties for 2025. All those in favor? Okay, it is unanimous. 10B is the budget.
I move that Borough Council adopt the 2025 final budget for the attachment amended to reflect the disability benefit as described earlier by the manager.
Second.
Okay. So I'll note that the motion on the table is to approve the disability benefits. Anybody have concerns about that? Okay.
Thank you.
Any other budgetary concerns or
No,
comments?
I'm just thrilled that it's balanced and it's a good budget and no tax increases, aside from the solid waste and sewer fees, but that was because of our contractual obligations. And again, thank you.
I'd like to thank Matt for.
Yeah.
this one.
It was a good budget season.
And you've left us in good hands, I think, you left the budget in good shape for next year and onwards. So thankful to see that. Any other questions? Okay, let's vote to adopt the 2025 budget.
Was there a second?
As amended. Oh,
Yes.
there was.
I thought that, yeah.
Okay. So we are voting to adopt the 2025 budget as amended to include the disability benefit for all borough employees. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. 10C, property taxes.
I move to adopt resolution 2024-23 for 2025 property tax to remain at 9.865 mils.
Second.
Okay. We'll note that the county taxes and school district taxes are still going up. We don't have control over those, but the borough's taxes are going to remain steady. Assuming we all vote for this. Any other comments about the tax? All right, we are voting for 2025 property tax to remain at 9.865 mils. All those in favor? It's unanimous. 10D is Buckbridge.
I move that Borough Council approve a time extension for agreement number 069438, Phase 2, North Narberth Avenue over Amtrak until December 31st, 2025, and to approve supplement G in the amount of $54,000, $979.21 for the attachments.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded. Mr. West. you want-
So this would, thank you. So our project manager, Panoni, is asking this since the current agreement is through December 31st, 2024, and given the delays that we've experienced through Amtrak's involvement of the project, we are not ready to put this out to bid yet. So they are requesting that the time extension go through the end of December 31st, 2025, and to approve Supplement G, which is not additional funds. These are already in the budget. This is just freeing them up for this next go-round. Remember, we do get reimbursed for 95% of that cost, that $54,000 and some change. If you have detailed questions, we do have Jim Markham on Zoom if you have any specific, more detailed questions about it, this request.
So is this an increase in the amount, total amount that we're paying them?
No, it's not an increase. It's in the total cost of the design. So it's already accounted for. They just need this freed up through the contract. And Jim, I feel like I'm fumbling. Let's see.
Yeah, so the nomenclature that PennDOT uses for the different parts of the contract, they do it in parts, like part 1, preliminary, part 2, final design. I think part 4 is actually construction services. So most of this money was unused money in part 1, but we're in part 2. Therefore, in PennDOT terms, it is a supplement. There's a little bit of additional money in there, and that is mostly to do with the addition of, we hadn't scoped doing electrical plans in coordination with the architect who was doing the lighting. They hadn't either, which we assumed they had. We ended up just doing that, but that wasn't in our contract before. So to Matt's point, most of the money was just unused money from preliminary design. So from the borough's standpoint in funding, it's not a change. I don't know off the top of my hand what that difference is from the total amount here, but there is a little more in there for this electrical design.
But you're saying it's not, the borough is not paying more, the borough is already contracted as part of the design process?
It's an additional amount.
Wow, I'm hearing different things, I'm trying to clarify. So there is there or is there not a small additional amount the borough's gonna have to pay as a result of this?
There is a small additional amount the borough has to pay, and I don't have that number with me. I think the amount of the contract is $10,000 more than was originally the change from part 1 to part 2. So if, let's assume 10,000 is that amount, that sounds about right. The borough would have to pay 5% of that, which I think, if I do my math right, is $500.
Okay. All right, well, we need to keep the electricity going. And we still remain on pace to put this out to bid next year?
Yeah, so all the knowns in the contract are done. The unknowns, we still meet twice a week, and those meetings have been reduced to, we still need some signatures from Amtrak and from some utilities. Every now and then they ask us for some additional information, which we can readily provide, but that's what we're fighting for right now, is just the agreement. And that's what we're asking to extend the contract time for, in case these agreements keep going. Yeah, so that's where we're at. And when I say we meet every 2 weeks still, well, that's not just your staff and Pennoni. PennDOT is in those meetings. They are active participants, particularly with the railroad lately, because they have a lot of projects right now that aren't going to their satisfaction speed-wise with the railroads, and this is one of them. They want to be more active in engaging Amtrak.
But you seem to imply that there was still some signatures we were waiting for, but I thought we had received that signature from the vice president or whatever.
Yes, we have, we've made progress on all of them, but there are still more signatures. So there's a form we need to complete with PennDOT, which we can't complete until we have the final construction schedule from Amtrak, which they need to sign off on. So there's still pieces. This is what we've been doing. We've been checking off the boxes.
Yeah, the construction agreement is signed and executed. We did get that from Amtrak. PICO construction easement agreement has been signed and executed. I just sent out the Comcast one today. So those are the ones that the utilities that we're waiting for. And that's what also Jim is alluding to.
Okay, I'm going to throw a curveball, which is that President Trump has announced that he is going to try to cancel unspent Inflation Reduction Act money and as much money that Biden had allocated as he can. Is there a chance that we will, I know the federal government, it was my understanding that that is, you know, we got federal government funding for this as a result of, I believe, the Inflation Reduction Act. So is there any chance that we are going to lose that federal funding, or is that already kind of locked in for us? And if you don't have an answer, you know, you can let me know down the line if there's any danger of this, but I just want you to think about that, because yeah, what happens if they do that, and can we lose our funding?
So, no surprise, I don't know the answer to that.
That's all right. I mean, it's not much we can do. You know,
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I guess.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, it makes me wanna get us those signatures sooner rather than
Be
later,
nice, but-
like before January 20th.
But we're not gonna have the bridge done by January.
No,
That's it.
but I think the further along
Yeah.
you are in the process, it's harder to cancel
Yeah.
funding for things that are already contractually bound.
Mr. Marvin?
I mean, IIJA is a law, right? And at least as I understand government, the president can't just cancel laws, and that law is on the books through 2026. So I don't know the real answer to your question, but that's my understanding of the IIJA. And frankly, I don't know if PennDOT is using the IIJA for their piece of the funding or not.
Okay. Well, if that changes, I guess let us know. So we'll have to budget.
Of course.
Okay. Any other questions on this? All right, let's vote on approving the time extension and the supplement G for the Narberth Avenue Bridge design. All those in favor? Okay, it is unanimous.
Thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you.
All right, thank you.
All right. Updated schedule of bills.
This is F.
This is E.
Okay. I move that Borough Council approve the attached schedule of bills for the general sewer, solid waste, and capital funds totaling $509,381.19 for the period between January 1st and April 12th, 2024 per the attachment.
Second.
Okay. Mr. West.
All right, so thank you. If you all refer to the memo that was included in the meeting packet for tonight, I outlined the issue in that it was an accounting error. Essentially boiled down, this $509,000 are bills that didn't make the schedule of bills list for the first 3 months of the year. This does not mean it's new. These are new bills. These are newfound bills. These are bills that have already been paid. In our accounting software, it's an easy toggle button to switch it from accrual from cash. We should be generating it from cash. They were generated for the first 3 for accrual. So when that happens, it doesn't collect all of those bills that we have scheduled in our accounting software. So from an audit standpoint, it's the best practice, the standard practice for council to review and approve these bills. That's why we go through this exercise of the schedule of bills. That is that one-to-one relationship where an auditor can come in and say, hey, look, I need proof of check number 123 that it went before council, show me the meeting minutes that happened. So this is an accounting exercise to get these bills lists in front of you, to approve them. It also, if you look at our budget versus actual, that's the real money. It's already been accounted for. This is not going to change our bottom line at all. This is just to review the schedule of bills that should have been before you in those first 3 months this year.
And anything involving a check, myself and
Right.
Mr. West signed the checks, so there are other controls in place to make sure that spending is...
And no check has gone out without both of our signatures on it and review.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move to approve the updated schedule of bills. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Before we go any further, so we passed the millage. The sewer and the solid waste fees, do those get passed as part of the schedule of fees, or when do we?
That will be a schedule, a fee
Okay.
schedule.
Fee schedule,
Which will
which
be
will
up next month.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure I hadn't missed something.
Yeah, given that was a part of the budget document, that then gives us marching orders to put that on the fee schedule, which will be before council for consideration next month.
Okay. Well, I mean, in the past, we've done our final approval of the budget and the fee schedule on the same day, so. But I can see that it's better this way. All right, now we're on motion N, which is intergovernmental agreement.
I move that Borough Council approve Resolution 2024-24, authorizing a joint application with Lower Merion Township and Upper Merion Township for Department of Environmental Protection and Recycling Performance Grants per the attachment.
Second.
Okay. Mr. West?
So this was brought to our attention from the borough's current recycling grant administrator, Huff Associates, who are also the administrator for both Upper and Lower Merion Townships. And they recently had gone through an intermunicipal cooperation unified grant process with Lower Merion and Upper Merion to help them secure additional funds for their annual recycling grant. And they had the eureka moment, hey, we should also include Narberth since we're fully encapsulated from Lower Merion. So this is an extension of that, and both Upper Merion and Lower Merion have already passed their resolutions and signed their intermunicipal agreement, so they are all on board. This has no effect to administrative time, administrative staff time. This will all be handled through Huff and Associates. The good news is that it should increase our annual recycling grant by about $1,100. Also, starting 2024, DEP changed their algorithm for the grant. Long story short, without getting into the nitty-gritty details, it's going to lower every municipality's grant allocation by about 8%. So if we subtract 8% from about the $9,500 to a $10,000 that we get annually, subtract the 8%, add the $1,100, we're actually going to be still more in the black than we were previously. These dollars have historically been deposited into the solid waste fund. They're also included in this year's solid waste budget. You see that recycling grant. I believe we budgeted $9,500 for 2024.
Okay.
That's it.
Doesn't seem like any downside to this. So.
Give us money? Sure.
All right.
No administrative time. Great.
Yeah. All right, so let's vote on approving this intergovernmental agreement between Narberth, Lower Merion, and Upper Merion for the recycling grant. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Huff Associates again, in 10G.
I move that Borough Council approve a 3-year agreement authorizing Huff Associates to collect residential and commercial recycling data and to file the borough's annual DEP 904 recycling grant application for a total cost of $1,700 per the attachment.
I'll second it.
Okay.
This is to continue our relationship, our longstanding relationship with Huff Associates at the same amount that we've been paying them since I've been here.
They seem to have proved their worth. So,
They make it really easy. They do really good work, and they take all of the recycling data, all of the tonnage reports from not just the borough's trash hauler, but from any private trash haulers that does business in the borough as well. So it is a huge time and cost savings to borough administration.
okay. Any other questions? All right, let's vote to approve the 3-year recycling grant administration contract with Huff Associates. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous once again. 10H, fire alarm replacement panel.
I move that Borough Council approve the purchase and installation of a fire alarm replacement panel for 100 Conway Avenue at a cost of $4,503 per the attachment.
Okay.
I will second.
Okay.
Seems like a public health and safety.
Yep, so the reason that I'm bringing this before council is that it's connected to our capital improvement plan. If you review our capital improvement plan, I believe for 2026, there was a line item to replace the fire alarm panel, and the number that we had in the capital improvement plan was $12,000. That was what we thought it would cost to replace it. In the time since, the fire alarm panel has stopped working. So we are at a time where we need to replace it. And so thankfully Ken Watson, one of our housemen, went and got 3 quotes, and he was pleased to report that it came in at $4,503, which is, guess what? Now it does not meet our capital improvement as a capital expense. The other good news is that there's enough money in our maintenance budget for 100 Conway to absorb this one-time cost. So that's why I wanted to bring it before council to show that we are actually moving forward with some high priority capital improvements that we're budgeted for the next 5 years at more than half the cost.
And we were correct to put it on the replacement list.
That's right.
Any other questions?
What is a fire alarm replacement panel?
That is the computer that runs our fire alarm system.
Okay. Easy.
Does that sit in the server room in the office then?
No, it sits over in the fire department,
Okay,
their office.
all right.
Is the current one not functional, off and all that?
Correct. I had the same thought, and thankfully the day that it malfunctioned, our code enforcement officer was in the office. I was like, hey, does this present a problem for this building? Thankfully it does not. And so from a code perspective, we are not in non-compliance. From a health and safety, yeah, we really should have one, but it was not, we've not been operating in a non-compliance factor.
Could you remind me, is there always someone in the building, or the houseman leaves at a
There
certain
is.
point?
Nope, 24/7.
Okay, well, so that's sort of like what they call a fire watch.
Yeah, right. Good point.
Yeah.
If approved tonight, how fast can we get it done?
Probably, I've got the thing to sign probably within a week.
Okay.
All right. It's our best to prove it. We're voting to purchase and install the fire alarm replacement panel. All those in favor? Okay. Pronto. All right, our last item is the borough manager employment agreement.
I move the Borough Council approve an employment agreement between the Borough of Narberth and Margaret Dobbs per the attachment.
Second.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, council is interviewing candidates as soon as Mr. West let us know that he'd be departing, and we are pleased to have made this agreement with Maggie Dobbs. She will be starting, I believe, on December 5th. 6th, okay, 6th, she'll be in and out of the office for a few days, wrapping up some projects at her current employer, and then she will have some time here in the borough while Mr. West is also here to learn the ropes, and looking forward to that. So this is just the contract for her employment. So Councilman, we mostly discussed this, so the biggest change is going to be the severance agreement. This contract allows for 6 months of severance after a 6-month performance review, which I've looked at some other contracts, and that seems to be a pretty standard. It is a fairly common condition. Not all places do it, but I've found several other borough manager agreements with very similar severance packages. Otherwise, I believe it is fairly similar to what we discussed in our executive session.
I just have one question on the contract. It cross-references the borough's employee policy manual. I'm just sort of curious. For paid sick leave and vacation leave, is it a use it or lose it policy for either or both of them?
It is not for vacation, it is for sick.
Okay,
You can
yeah,
make 10
that's pretty typical.
10 for
Yeah.
vacation.
Yeah, you can carry 10 vacation days over.
Okay.
And yeah, a lot of these are the same policies that we have in place for all of our office employees.
Yeah, I didn't have access to the manual tonight.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's vote to approve the borough manager employment agreement. All those in favor? All right, it is unanimous. All right, information items. The reports are in the packet. Any new business? Old business? Comments for the good of council? Okay, let me check for our, we have several items. We'll have an executive session after this meeting. We will discuss the draft agreement for the police department negotiations. We will have an update on the borough manager. We will be discussing lease renewal for tenant to 201 Sabine and a court case, litigation matter. I believe that is it, and we will not be returning the session after the executive session. So, take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning? Okay, we are adjourned.
I just want to say thank you for what you do.
Recording stopped.
Recording stops. All right.
Good job.
Nice.
That's fast talking.